Hey, welcome back friends. If you're new here, my name is Rose and it's finally time for part 2 of my houseplant tour. As I told you in part 1, which you can find here if you haven't seen it yet, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't put you through a video of 1.5 hours of watching my plants. I know some of you said that you wouldn't mind it, but I thought it was too much. So it's finally time for part 2. I hope you enjoy it. I have to say this video actually has my favorite plants in here, both aroids and Hoyas, so I hope you enjoy it. And if you don't mind giving this video a thumbs up right now, that would be super helpful. And subscribing if you haven't yet to my channel, that would also be awesome. Thanks, and let's get started. Over on this side of the house, we have our huge wall of cupboards and shelves and a few plants. We also have my terrarium, but I'm going to show you that again in a separate video because otherwise it would take too long. We have a lot more plants to see. I was actually standing in front of this one and I wanted to show you. I really support Hannah from Kitten Lady on Instagram and I'm a donator of her orphan kitten club, so I get cards every now and then. This is such an adorable little kitty and it's sitting on top of my Hoya memoria, which is sold as gracilis or something. I took a lot of cuttings off this plant and I guess it doesn't mind. It's still growing. I actually bought this because the new leaves were coming out quite brownish, just like some of my favorite philodendron do and anthurium. I haven't seen that since I moved it into my house, but that might also be because it is quite far away from my window. So it probably doesn't get necessarily enough light, but that's okay. Then over here, we have a Ruellia macoiana, which is actually hiding my microscope that I recently got. This was sitting here all summer long. I noticed that the red backs had disappeared, so probably it got too much light, and also it was hanging a lot. I kind of forgot that this plant really does like to get watered regularly, which I'm not necessarily good at. So I've made it my mission to take better care of it. On the little table next to my terrarium, we currently have 2 plants. Very exciting. Actually, there are more plants, but 2 pots. This is Caspar, the top cutting, which actually does look very happy and healthy. They are turning green slowly, it seems like. This leaf had some, I think I showed you this in a previous video, but little points of green at the edges. And then this is a newest leaf, which also has that. And then next to it is my little pot of syngoniums. So this is my combination pot. I have 2 syngonium confetti in here, which I got from my friend Aidana. Again, we swapped those. There are new leaves growing. And then I also have the variegated syngonium in here. This one got a little bit stuck, but the other leaves look amazing and so happy. I got this from Angela from Casa Botanica for a giveaway and it's adorable. I love it very, very much. And they get some light from the terrarium lights, so that's nice. Over here on the table, we have a few new plants that are quite cool. Over here is, first of all, this little caladium thingies. I actually have filmed a Get Your Caladiums Ready for Fall video that I haven't edited yet. Editing is so much more time than just making these videos, so sorry about that. But I broke off some leaves that I thought were just leaves, so I popped them in water just to look pretty. Turns out they are growing whole plants. So this one, I actually never thought this would survive, but it's grown a little leaf right there and there are tiny bit of roots in the bottom. And then this one is the more successful story. This was the leaf that I popped in here. It grew quite a lot of roots. And as you can see here, 2 new leaves, 2 tiny baby caladium leaves. So cute. So apparently did contain some kind of stem material, but I thought that was very cool and I wanted to show them off. Back here is a philodendron tortum in this beautiful, beautiful pot I got from Elho as a gift because they wanted to cheer me up for still feeling quite bad with headaches and stuff from the fall that I had in April. Thank you so much. I actually love these pots so much. And this one sits here with my tortum because the pattern on them kind of reminded me of the tortum. The plant itself I got from Kekieki a while ago, which you may have seen in an unboxing. This is the leaf that it grew. It's getting quite a lot bigger, as you can maybe see. And there's another leaf growing right now. On the other side, we have the little house terrarium, which I recently closed up to the top because plants in it were not very happy, so I helped the humidity out. In here, we have another wishlist plant, which is the Selaginella uncinata. I'm trying to go in closer so you can see better, but the light is kind of changing the color. Is that better? Can you see that it's kind of a blue plant? I learned that it's actually not a fern, it's a moss. This has started to grow so well since I moved it in here in this high humidity, not super bright light conditions. See, it's growing all over the place, all the way back there. I got this one from Kakieki as well with that tortum. Then here is the only Makota's orchid that I still have left. And it's finally looking like it is alive again. This is the Makota's Lowy. It used to be together with my Makota's Patola, but that one died because it wasn't happy in the terrarium. So luckily this one does look a little bit more happy. And then in the back there is my other jewel orchid. This one is the Ludicea discolor. I got this as a little cutting from Sandra, and I recently popped it in soil because someone told me they actually like soil much better than moss. So that's why there's a little pot in there. This is such a cute little thing. I love it. Let's close it back up. There we go. Up there we have another print by Arine. This one is a variegated Monstera. My boyfriend loves it because it's quite minimalist, but still planty, so we love it both. And then here is my Hoya Sunrise, which I got with basically no roots. It wasn't very happy. It did root in leca quite well, but it hasn't grown anything for me yet. So maybe I have to wait until spring because it seems like this one just needs some time to adjust. And I still have it in leca, but I feel quite not sure about it. I don't know when to water it and stuff. It's very confusing to me. I prefer my Hoyas to be in soil. Here, actually behind all these hanging plants, is my big philodendron hederaceum, the scandens, the heart-shaped philodendron. So many words to say this plant. I'm considering selling it or giving it away to a family member, but it does look very cute. It's just so big. It takes over my house. What do you think? Should I keep it or should I give it away? Sell it. Then we have more hanging Hoyas. Let's start at the top. Standing on the table, always fun. So this top one is Hoya Variegated. Oh, these are actually new leaves and they look really nice. So it's still happy here. It is right next to the window, but it doesn't get that much light because it's so high up. So I'm gonna have to keep an eye on this for the winter. Might have to move it, but for summer this is a great spot to hang. Yeah, this looks generally quite healthy and happy. I'm surprised because I hardly ever look at this plant. The next one down is my Hoya Polyneura, which also recently had a few mealybugs, so these leaves are a little bit damaged from that, but it seems like the treatment helped. These leaves look beautiful. And it's growing here as well. But this plant is quite easy. I've heard people say that they are difficult. I just don't think they are. Well, not here on this spot. Maybe it just likes to be here, right next to the south-facing window, but not too much direct light. Just checking the soil. It is still in the soil that I bought it in, which is probably not great, but I wanted to wait a season. So next spring, I'm gonna repot this one and hope that it survives, because I heard that these can be quite fussy. They don't like change. So if you are moving it to a different spot or if you are repotting it, they can throw a little hissy fit. It did grow lots of peduncles. It actually came, oh look, new growth. Hello ADHD. But it did come with a lot of peduncles. None of them made it. All of them died off. They are apparently quite hard to grow, according to Paul Shirley, who I visited a while ago. And then the bottom one is Hoya Mathilde. Hold on. For this one, I actually don't have to stand up on the table. So this one I got from the Bosrand after I filmed that cool video there, which you can check here, with all the amazing plants that they had. And it is growing a lot. Look at all those tendrils growing up. And why I love this one so much is because it actually came with lots of peduncles where it had already grown. I think my chances are quite high for next spring to get some beautiful Mathilde flowers, and I love it. I'm excited to see it. Also, just in general, this plant is so adorable. The little round leaves with the splash and a little bit of fuzz on them. I love this plant, and I really highly advise this for beginners. if you want to get started with Hoyas and you can find a cutting of a Mathilde, definitely do it because they grow so quickly. They will become a full plant for you in no time. Just stepping back to show you an overview of this corner here. Then here, a little bit more forward on the table, we have my Alocasia mycolithiana, or Friedeck, as most people call it. It's not. The variegated version is Friedeck. This one is so amazing. This plant grows so fast. Leaf size when I got it was about this size. And now I have leaves that are this size. It did get spider mites. Apparently these are very, very sensitive to spider mites. So you might be able to see here. There is some, this was a new leaf as I was treating for spider mites. So it came out a little bit wonky looking, almost like a variegated version. No, that was a joke. But yeah, they grow very big quite quickly, I've found. And because there are several plants in the pot, I always have some new leaves unfurling, which is awesome. Look at that velvet, you guys. Can you see that? It's so hard to show you, but right now the sun is out, so it might be easier. This one actually has a few leaves that are ready to drop off down here. But like I said before, I leave these on until they are fully done. This one, it's all yellow, but it looks so pretty. I don't care, I just leave them on. It's like a fall vibe in my house. In the same pot, because this is a really fun two-planty pot, I have my dragon scale alocasia. This is another of one of my favorite plants. I feel like it's less susceptible to spider mites somehow. Maybe they like the softer leaves better than the harder leaves because these are quite thick and like cardboardy. And it is actually growing a new leaf right there. Can we focus on that? Yes, there we go. I do get some questions. Some people ask if this is a different form because my new leaves come out greenish black and then they slowly start to turn to grayish black as they get older. I don't think it is a new form. It's just, I don't know. It's just what it is. So you don't always have to give it a new name or something. It's just beautiful as it is. Some of you guys also have this. It might also have to do with the conditions. I don't give it necessarily a lot of light. Now, don't let those perfect leaves fool you. I don't have just all perfect leaves. This one was one of the earlier ones that I grew, and as you can see, it looks horrible. Maybe I should cut that off, but I don't. This one was very small because the plant was set back. Back here are a few more actually. Whoa, I'm hiding all the bad leaves. That's not on purpose. I like the bad leaves just as much. No, that's not true, but I don't mind them. But see, that's not a happy leaf for sure. So don't let the Instagrams trick you. And this big one is actually called Frida, the Friedeck, and the dragon scale is called Draki. So they are chilling together. They moved in together and are just living out their lovey dreams. By the way, the house looks so cool with the sunlight coming in. Literally, it's reaching all the way over there to Caspar even, when normally in the summer we don't get that at all. Let's try and continue in this corner. I hope you can see with the bright sunlight. It's actually such a nice day today that I didn't expect. So this is Vicky, my philodendron verrucosum, which has had a really, really hard time. She had spider mites several times. I treated several times, it didn't help. So then I just drastically cut her back. She used to have 3 long stems. Now she only is 1 short stem and then 2 tiny stems. So this one is starting to grow out again. And then in the back is another one. I do have this one here because I have lots of fungus gnats and I'm trying to treat them with nematodes, which is another way of using good bugs to eat the bad bugs that you pour into the water. So that's very interesting. I'll let you know how that goes. You can still see spider mites, or at least the webbing on the leaf here. But then also the good mites are walking all over these leaves. So I'm just gonna wait and see what happens. All the propagations actually that I took are growing right now in my tent. So hopefully I'll be able to share them with you in the future. Ooh, look at that new leaf that's coming out. Very cool. And the top cuttings that I took are here in a separate pot that is also struggling still with spider mites. Lots of old spider mite damage. I hope that the bugs are working. I'll have to buy some more in a few weeks because they last up to 6 weeks, I think. Just to give you a better view of what a verrucosum can look like. Ignore the little baggie. These are Vicky's leaves, and the back of the leaves are super red. This is actually the variety that is sold in the garden centers here that just has a lot of the red backs of the leaves and the fuzzy stems that some people find very creepy. Sorry, I should have given you a warning for that. I hope she recovers because she used to be stunningly beautiful and easy to grow and just very fast grower as well. So I would really like her to recover. Then here we've got this alocasia. Just going to show you this way so you can see it a little bit better. This is the alocasia New Guinea Gold that I got from Plant Rebels. It's very cool looking. Like the stems are purple and the leaves are kind of green with yellow variegation sometimes, not always. This one has a lot less yellow variegation. The yellow you see on there is actually not supposed to be there. Whoops. But this plant somehow is growing very weirdly. Can you see that new leaf? They all came out like this and I didn't touch them, I promise. So I had 3 leaves coming out like that and it's kind of annoying. I wanted to see full leaves. I hope this next one comes out better. Actually, it does look like it might be a little bit better. But yeah, this has been quite a sad story. Maybe they're just a little bit more tricky. Generally, I'm quite good with alocasias, as you may have noticed by now. I'm obsessed with them. But this one just didn't want to be happy. Maybe it didn't like shipping, or I don't know what it was. But this one, not my favorite right now. Sorry. Then we have 4 big Hoyas here, which I guess I will have to pick up because you cannot see anything right now. So let's start with this one. This is my Hoya Cinnamomyphilia var purpurifusca. I guess that means it gets purple flowers if it does ever flower. This has grown really well since I started to learn how to take care of Hoyas better. It is a little bit dusty, sorry about that. There are new leaves growing on that little stem. And then this, look at this tendril. This one is just wrapping itself around the tendril, around the bamboo pole very nicely. And I hope that giving it that support is going to give it... Hello, did you come to show your face to all the peoples? Mickey, you're so beautiful. Give the people a little head bud. Good boy. Anyway, I'm hoping that that will stimulate the tendrils to start growing leaves and not just long tendrils. That's what I've learned from reading old Hoya newsletters and stuff. They do like to get some support before they grow leaves. These leaves are very pretty. They're kind of veiny and the shape is beautiful, I think. I get a lot of questions about these pots. They are no longer available. They were sold at Hoya, but they have gone out of the collection, sadly. The next one is Hoya camphorifolia, which I also got from Isabel. It was quite a small plant and it is so big now. It's so full. Sorry for the wobbling. I'm holding it in one hand. It's a little bit heavy. And again, there are lots of tendrils growing. I should actually tie them up a little bit better. So lots of tendrils growing upwards, but also lots of leaves growing all around here. And this can actually get a really nice suntan once it gets a little bit more light, but I haven't been able to do that with just sunlight. You can see it a little bit in that leaf and the new tiny one there. It looks a little bit darker, but this can be kind of almost brownish, very cool looking if you give it more light. So just a little tip, try that. And look, there's new leaves, tiny baby ones. Then we have this Hoya sp, because it hasn't flowered yet in the place where it came from. So we don't know what it is, but we're suspecting it is a Hoya Murilli. And it is so heavy to hold in one hand. It's so big. I actually recently took some cuttings for some of my friends and sent them to them because this plant literally is so chunky. And it is still growing. Can we see over there? There's a new tendril. There is another one. They're just... ooh, wobbly, sorry. Tendrils and leaves all over the place. This is such a cool plant to grow. I highly recommend it. Woo! We call it Hoya super pretty, but also super fast because it's so easy to grow. It's just not very easy to hold. This is like doing bicep curls. Hold on. Oh, thank God for Ollie's weight. He's a lot lighter than the previous one, Meredith. So Ollie is my Hoya obovata, which is looking good. He was going a little bit slower, so I made sure to tie up that tendril to a trellis. Since I did that, he is actually starting to grow leaves out. It used to be just a little tendril, And now he's got little baby ollie leaves coming out. So I'm very, very happy with that, with the advice from those old newsletters. He's also growing again on this tendril, and this one, I don't know, that also looks activated now. This hasn't grown for a really long time, so I'm happy about that. He did also grow a little peduncle ages ago, which has not started to show any signs of flowering, but maybe next year. And there are a few more. There's one. See the little peduncle? I love ollie a lot. The big round leaves, the super succulent leaves, and then the splash on them. If you give this enough light, the splash will turn kind of pink. Make sure that you don't burn the leaves though, because you can. You can actually see it here a little bit. That looks kind of pink. Do you see that? And then after winter, the splash will turn back to silver, so it doesn't last forever, unfortunately. Baby Hoya leaves are one of the most adorable things I've ever seen, next to baby Anthurium leaves and of course cats. Mickey! Okay, those are maybe more adorable than plant leaves. But still, these all live in a very chunky, airy mix, and I make sure to water them regularly because they do dry out quite quickly here in the south-facing window with sunlight. In winter, obviously, we water less, but because these get so much warmth and light, they all dry out quite quickly. Climbing up again, because up here on this second shelf, we've got a few more plants to look at. Oh, I'm so blinded right now. I hope you can see. I cannot see anything. This is a Monstera propagation station, basically. This is a big Monstera that was growing, but yesterday, as I was repotting it, I broke off the new growth, sadly, and that one leaf that I showed you before. So that's a little bit sad. This is gonna sit here for winter, and then hopefully in spring we'll be happy, and I might sell it. The other one, which hasn't shown many signs of growth yet, is a beautiful leaf here as well. Same story, just letting that sit here until spring, and then I might sell it. This tiny Monstera is the really cool one with a lot of white on this leaf. The next leaf didn't have as much white, but is a lot bigger and is getting all the fenestrations already. And I'm actually probably gonna sell this to a friend who was really hoping to get a cool variegated Monstera. And as you can see, a new leaf is brewing, and I suspect that that one has a lot of white. So we're hoping that this is going to be a great plant with a nice balance. So just a tip, if you didn't know this, the petiole, which is the little stem where the leaf attaches, does not say anything about the color of the next leaf. What does is the stem down here. This is the actual stem of the plant. And as you can see, there's a big chunk of white on that. So I actually kind of want to keep this plant and see what the next leaf turns into, because it does look very promising. But yeah, that's another Monstera propagation. By the way, we're almost at the end. I only have a few more plants to show you, and I hope you can see well, because as you can tell, I cannot see anything. But let's continue. The last two plants on this shelf are not Monstera propagations. This is my adorable Hoya, which I kind of ignore a little bit because it sits up there a lot. This is Dobby, the Hoya globulosa. These leaves are super cool. They have big dark veins, and they are quite, I don't know if you can see, but they are quite fluffy at the back, and it's been growing quite well. There is a new leaf there. Oh, and there's a new leaf at the bottom there as well, and another point of growth. So this is growing. It just doesn't get as much attention from me because it sits all the way up here. But I love the name that I gave this, and also the leaves kind of remind me of Dobby ears, so it's very fitting. Dobby the globulosa. Sorry for the shaking again. And then this one is Jane, my birkin. She is looking good. She's very big. And as you can see here, there's another mutated leaf coming out, which looks quite cool. She is a little bit white again because I moved her into the south-facing window. And I recently figured out that, do you see those 2 points? That she recently switched from having a petiolar sheath to having her own cataphyls as she comes out. So this right one is the new leaf, and the left one is the cover that it had to come out and protect the new leaf. That is a more mature form of growing on philodendron, so it's very interesting to see. And also actually on Anthurium do that as well. Ooh, this is heavy. Let me put it back. When I first saw a birkin online, I was absolutely in love and I really, really wanted one. But I have to say, I don't really think it's that special anymore. I kind of got used to it and it's, I don't know, I'm a little bit over it. What do you think? Do you still love your birkins as much as when they first came out? By the way, the dots that you see on here, I suspect are extra floral nectaries, which, because she's getting so much light, burned little bits on the leaves. So that's not necessarily bad. It just looks a little bit ugly. Whew! I'm actually getting really sweaty wearing this sweater and then also standing in the sunlight and lifting up all these plants. So I'm happy that we're gonna switch to a little bit more, well, my face is half lit. Very professional lighting right there. Sorry about that. The sun is not working with me today. But only one more plant that sits in the sunlight and then we can move into the shade where it's a little bit cooler. So the last plant sitting in the sun is this Monstera variegata. This is the top cutting that I took, and because I air layered it, it did survive. Compared to the last time I propagated a Monstera, and the top cutting still looks horrible now, months and months after. But as you can see, the new leaf did get damaged. It didn't grow as big as the previous leaves, and it just looks very floppy and sad, unfortunately. By the way, can we take a moment to appreciate the beauty of this pot? This is made from plastic that is fished out of the Amsterdam canals, and every pot is unique and different. So this one has the line here and another line there. Other ones look very different. I've showed you a few already. They are from the special Elho collection, so I highly recommend these pots. If you can get them, try and get your hands on them. They are so, so beautiful. That was not sponsored, by the way. They sent them to me for free, but they didn't ask me to post anything about them. I'm just in love. Look at that. That color is the most beautiful. Anyway, let's continue looking at this planty plant. So here is the stem. There are 3 big leaves on it, so that is quite intense for a propagation. Hi, Mickey. So every leaf is very unique on this plant, as is with all variegated leaves, but just generally looking so beautiful. Big splashes of white, secondary fenestrations. I am very happy with this plant and I hope it keeps growing even though I propagated it. Are we hunting shades? What are we hunting? I'm afraid he's hunting my toes. Ooh! Oh no! A little bug. Huh? Pest control right there. This last part of the house actually has a few pots in here with different plants in one pot, which I really, really like. I'm very happy with. So let's take a closer look. Let's actually start with this one because this is the only one plant in a pot that's left. This is my Prince of Orange, which turned into kind of a Prince of Dark Red. So that's why I moved it into this window to give the new leaf a little bit more light and make it more orangey. This was the variegated leaves. People asked me if that stayed after it turned green. Yes, it actually became more pronounced, more light, so easier to see. But I haven't seen it on the newer leaves since then. So not a variegated plant, just some variegated spots. Do you want to see it in the light? Much more orangey this way. But still, this plant can be so much more light orange that I'm excited to see what happens to this next one. Ooh, it's so big. I have to move my arm back a lot. I got this from one of my best friends. She's like, I heard you saying in a video that you like this plant, so we went and got it for you. Isn't that the sweetest thing ever? So sweet. Thank you, Anjuli. I love you. First, multiples pot. This is the little pot that I got from Elho a while ago. I actually made a TikTok about this because as I was making it, the whole thing fell down. I was making a little tutorial which went wrong. I will add that in here just for shits and giggles. I thought that was pretty funny. So the plants that are in here are actually growing quite well now, finally. This is a Hoya David coming. Stop going away from me. So this I got as a cutting from my friend Ciarda. And I noticed that there weren't many new leaves growing on this. So that's why the other tendril that was growing, I tied it up onto the top so that hopefully it will start to grow more leaves. The next one is my regular Hoya croniana, with basically just as much splash as the other one, the snow one. This one, I feel like it's quite tricky to grow. It's easy, but then sometimes it just decides it's had too much water and kills off a whole tendril. I wouldn't say it's that easy to grow, or maybe I'm just really bad with overwatering my plants. That's also a possibility. Last one in this one is a Hoya Sunrise, which is starting to look a little bit more red, very nice. And it also has a tendril growing upwards, a new tendril. So that's cool, it's tied up, hopefully that will grow better. But so far the sunrises haven't grown much for me. I thought that was a very, very fun way to combine a few plants because there are 3 different holes and they all get the nice light because it's turning. The second to last pot is my Hoya, is my Alocasia zebrina variegata, the yellow variegated one. So you can see it quite clearly here, but as new leaves come in, you almost don't see it. Every time I think that it doesn't have variegation, and then slowly as the sun lights the leaf up, it starts to be more pronounced. And yes, there are some mites on here. I have predatory mites in there, so it might not just be spider mites, but also the ones that are eating the spider mites. Don't worry, I have seen them. This leaf is quite cool. It's got a little bit more variegation. It's not super pronounced on this one, but luckily I also love this plant as a regular zebrina, so it's not bad that it doesn't have the bright variegation. The leaves are curling up a little bit, so I don't know if this will stay happy for winter. There are actually a few leaves that are dying off. This was the first one that grew in my care, by the way. Can we just see the size difference? So this is the new leaf. This was the leaf that I thought was big already. Oh, I can show you with my hand. So this was the first leaf that grew in my care, and I actually thought it was very big. It's a little bit damaged from shipping, but that's fine. But comparing that to my hand, and then the newest leaf, comparing that to my hand, hopefully you can see how much bigger this grows so quickly. It's awesome. And then, because why not, we potted some other plants up at the bottom. So there are different baby alocasias here in the pot. We've got a black velvet that has some spider mite damage. Yes, I know there are spider mite eaters right here. It's growing a new leaf here. We have a little silver dragon that is also growing a new leaf finally. Over here we've got a little Alocasia cuprea, beautiful red leaves. The old leaf I think is going because it had a very small pot. I think it just had enough space, enough energy for one leaf, but now that it's in a bigger pot, hopefully the next leaves will be able to stay on. And then there's one more silver dragon here that just opened this new leaf, looking very pretty. And we have a Dischidia ovata, which I thought was fun to kind of try and grow as a ground crawler kind of thing, because it wasn't super happy as I was growing it before. So I'm testing it out like this. This is actually the same pot that before the Strelitzia was sitting in, with the string of pearls in the same way, because it gets a lot of light on the top here as it sits right next to the south facing window. So I'm hoping these will grow well. And then the last combination pot that we have is my Monstera variegata. This is doing so well. This might be large form, but I'm not quite sure. Either way, it is the plant that I got that got mutated into variegation in the house of a friend of mine. So it was a green plant and then it turned white. And it's just been growing so much white, like in such a healthy balance as well. The leaves look super cool and just have big chunks of white as well. And this is the newest one, which luckily came out well, as I recently repotted it to grow upwards on this moss pole that I made myself. Don't ask me how. There are much better people to explain this to you. I just tried something. But this one got quite floppy after the repot, and finally it's looking healthy again. So I'm really, really relieved that it's taking well to the repot. Such a cool plant. I love this one. This is named Ferry, by the way. So what I did in this one, because that pole is quite ugly, I made it myself, so it doesn't look very good. I popped in a little philodendron hederaceum plant that I was growing somewhere else, so that it can start to grow up the pole on here. And then you already see here what is growing on the other side. Let me turn that thing around for you. Oh, that is intense. It's a big pot. This is actually one of the self-watering pots that Elho sent me to try out. I don't necessarily use the self-watering because my Monstera doesn't need that much water, but for summer I think it will be useful. For now I just use it because it's a big pot and the plant needed a big pot. This is my micans, philodendron micans, or Variegated, something like that, that I started to let climb up the pole. I just put this here yesterday, so you won't see any actual grabbing on yet. I'm using little hair clips to hold it onto the pole, but I did notice when I was growing this that it had a lot of aerial roots, so I'm hoping that this will connect well to the pole and just climb all over it so it looks pretty on this side as well as on the Monstera side. What do you think? Is that a weird idea? I haven't seen anyone else do it, but I just thought it would make it nice because of course the leaves normally are sitting facing outwards, so facing us is this ugly pole. Of course, I would prefer the plant to sit like this to show us all the beautiful leaves, but then of course the next leaf will turn around and face the window again because they are growing towards the light. So yeah, I just figured why not make a little combination once again. We did a lot of moving in together yesterday. I potted that one up and that one, just making everyone live together and create nice plural marriages in the safest way possible. Maggie's looking so cute. Little jungle cat. Hey, my little pretty lady. You may have noticed that some of the coolest plants in my collection you haven't seen. That is because they live either in my terrarium or in my tent, and I will definitely make those videos quite quickly so that you get to see my whole collection. But I thought this was long enough for this one. That was actually all of my plants already, can you believe it? I hope you enjoyed this tour. It's been a long time coming, so thank you so much for your patience. If you did enjoy it, please consider giving it a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, subscribing to my channel would be amazing. And I recently started a Patreon and a YouTube membership as well. So if you're interested, please check those out, patreon.com/plantwithroos, or click below on the becoming a member thingy, and you will see all the different options. We have a group chat going, and we'll have a monthly Zoom meeting where you can ask all your questions. But don't worry if you don't have the money or you don't want to join. I also really still love connecting with you guys on here and on Instagram. I appreciate all of your comments and your little thumbs up and chatting with you guys. I really, really like it. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, friends.